Yeah. I like bringing in like talking about my own stuff because it's, like anything else, it's like, well, are you doing this for yourself? I remember getting caught with that
Hmm.
very early on in my career. It's like, well, are you guys doing this for yourselves? Like, well, I guess not. Like, why would we trust you to do it for us?
Right.
you
And
know?
I built a
All right,
GPT
here
for
we go.
clients
Yeah.
to help with some of this positioning stuff. Ran myself through it, and it tore me up. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
ooh, I gotta, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I've done it. It's always like, cobbler's kids type things, but
mhm. Yeah, no, definitely.
you gotta, you gotta practice on yourself to a certain extent.
Yep.
Um, Come on, LinkedIn. What is it doing? Are you on there? Are you seeing it live on your end by chance? Because this happened to me last time. It was like spinning and spinning, but everybody else was seeing it live,
Ah,
which is weird.
so we're awkwardly being watched right now.
I know. Let me see something.
Hello, friends at home.
Let's see. Yeah, it's showing live. So weird. Okay.
Yeah, we're live.
All right. It's because I'm trying to stream to both. But like, anyway, it's the weird Riverside setup. Anyway, we are live, so I'm gonna stop
All
wasting time.
right.
Chris DuBois, welcome to Consulting Growth Insights Live.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm
Yeah.
excited to be here.
Yeah, this is fun. I mean, I was on your show a little while ago. We talked a lot about some of this stuff in one way, shape, or form. I think this would be a little bit of a continuation of that conversation too. Our episode hasn't gone live yet on your side, has it?
No, I think it's next week or the week
Okay,
after.
okay.
So,
So people they'll be getting part two before they get part one in that case. But
right.
um, I wanted to have you on because you and I think about these things. I think very similarly, yet we work with slightly different but related audiences. You
Mhm.
focus the majority of your time on agencies. I focus on consulting firms, and we get a little bit of a different view because of that. Um,
Mhm.
but the big thing that you and I definitely agree on is that right now, the way the market is, from the buyer's perspective, there's a lot of sameness out there. And the more choice there is in the market, the riskier the decision is to buy.
Mhm.
And from the agencies or consulting firms perspective, because there's so many people jumping in, you got fractionals, you've got all sorts of stuff, micro agencies, etc. If it's easy to copy you, um, you're not really differentiated. And it's a
Mhm.
risk to you as the founder of the firm. Because
Yeah.
if it's easy to copy you, you lose that edge, and all of a sudden, revenue goes away, margins shrink, et cetera, et cetera. So
Mhm.
there's real tangible business risk that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing? Like what are you seeing that your clients are struggling with? How are they thinking about this? How are you helping them think about this? Let's start there.
Yeah. Yeah. So most agencies that I talk to, when I ask them how they're different, it's like they're continuously seeking like their only, right? Where they're just looking for that one spot where it's like, yeah, we're the
Yeah,
only agency that serves this audience. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, maybe like, I don't know, 10 years ago, you could still claim that. But like now, it's like you're the only company or agency for roofing companies. Like,
right.
no, you're not. Like anybody can just show up and say, oh, we also do
Yeah,
that. And and so that led me down a path of like, well, what are all of those different things that people are trying to claim? And could we codify this so that it right that's not the case like
yeah,
you're not going to find it, but basically when I found that list, came out with a list of like 11 items, and it's not like 11, it is 11 items that I think like I call them levers. um and I guess the whole philosophy behind it is like when you can find uh you kind of look through all of them and say which ones of these are am I in like the top 20th percentile, right? So like we're near the top. We're not the only
yeah,
one because that's super hard to be top 1%, but if we're in the top 20 and then we stack like 3 to 5 of these, it's now very hard for someone to copy us because not only do they have to copy what we're saying, but also how are we structured, what are we willing to put on the line in order to prove this? And no one can just show up tomorrow and copy that same like
Yeah.
playbook.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's interesting. That idea of we're going to be the only, I think is kind of this whole kind of category design playbook, I think, has gotten people to start, and there's nothing wrong with it, by the way, in a sense. I remember I had a Paul Singh on my show, and we kind of went back and forth as I was thinking through that. You definitely can do it, and it's possible to a certain extent. But I think it's, number one, it's really hard. Number two, it's really expensive. And number three, it's not always possible in the way that people are thinking. Like, it's gotten people to go, well, let me just make some stuff up. Like, oh, we're the, I don't know, whatever.
yeah, Uber of pizza companies.
Customer intelligence agency, whatever, something. It's like, what, customer intelligence for, I don't know, local HVAC company. I don't know. I'm making this up completely, right? If it's the agency side of things, but it's like they focused on, again, like kind of using the ICP to define like, oh, well, we're this thing for these people. And that's like the typical way that most positioning consultants even talk about. It's like, you know, who are you for and what do you solve? And that's it. That's positioning. I'm like, not exactly. Like in the way that you think about it, this idea of stacking, which I know I really want to get into, it's very similar, kind of even how you just described it. Like, oh, here's the 3 to 5 things that we're in the top 5% of. Have you ever read Scott Adams's book? Do you know who Scott Adams is? The guy that created Dilbert? Yeah. God, what was I always forget. It's like How to Fail at Everything and Still Succeed, or whatever, like that book.
Yeah, I don't think I've read that one. But I have a couple of his books literally sitting on the shelf in my
I'm looking over here. My shelf's just over here, and it's his idea is like it's this Venn diagram of like, and even talks about himself like, I'm not the best illustrator, but I'm in the top 5%. I'm not the best business person, but I'm in the top 5%. I forget what his third one was, but it's like you combine these 3 things, there's nobody, like there's maybe a few people that can compete with me, kind of thing, right? And it's that idea, kind of what you're describing. So let's dive into that. What does that look like? Because oftentimes it's let's define our ICP and let's define how we present ourselves and talk about ourselves to our ICP, which is definitely not enough. Like you and I agree on that. So what does it actually look like? What are the, I think you've got 11 levers that you talk about.
Yeah. So first, just riffing off that, I think a lot of positioning coaches, and this is not to throw shade at people, but like I'm going to, a lot of the coaches, consultants that say they're helping you with positioning, and then they only touch your ICP and like the homepage copy, like they're messaging experts or like the experts, I guess, right? But they're not positioning, because positioning requires like some sort of consequence. Like you looking at your business and how it's structured. What are we doing now? Do people care about this? And then can I put that out there in the world in a way that they say, oh, like these are the guys for me. And so I see that constantly out there where it's just, they say they're positioning, but it's really, you're just doing homepage copy. So like, that's not positioning, it's just messaging. Unless you're doing a full like business exploration. Right. Because positioning is a full business event. It's not just marketing or just sales, like it's everybody. But so anyways, for these 11 levers, I broke them up into buckets where you have your positioning levers, your structural levers, and then your commitment levers. And so the positioning ones are really like your market focus, what problem do we own, your point of view, and then relationships. And like through those, it's almost like it's kind of table stakes, right? Those are like par for the course. Like if you don't have a clear market right now, if like you don't have that niche, you're going to struggle. Like it's gonna be really hard to grab the attention of the people you want. For structural levers, it's your delivery model. Like how do you actually do the work? Operational constraints, which I think a lot of like agencies specifically ignore, where it's
Yep.
like you will keep taking on more and more services instead of saying like, no, we don't do like we do SEO. We will not
Yeah.
touch paid ads because we believe that actually waters down what we're doing.
Yep.
And now for the right person, right? That's enticing. Your methodology and IP is another one, and then the talent you have on your team. And that
Yep.
one's, I mean, we can get into any of these deeper in a second, but like this one's, a lot of agencies will be like, oh, we have the top talent, we have the best senior talent. It's like, yeah, but like anyone can say that, right? So like you're not in the top 20%. But say you had, so there's an agency, Story Arb, where
Yep.
the founder came from, was it Morning Brew? Like one of those massive newsletters,
Mhm.
right? He understands the content game. So like if you want him
Yep.
like overseeing some of the strategy of your content, like that's where you go because like there is that it puts them in the 20th percentile.
Mhm.
And so like something you should definitely consider. And then your commitment levers is really like how are we willing to put skin in the game? And so what outcome are we promising? Because that's
Mhm.
obviously part of it. Your risk reversal is going to be the other part. What guarantee are we willing to make? And then your economic model. So like how are we actually pricing this?
Yep.
And so yeah, once you have, I would recommend having at least one item from each bucket. Your
Mhm.
positioning levers are gonna like you're gonna have more, just by the nature of what we do. But the more of those buckets you can tap into, the easier it is to kind of like sell it. And then the more of those
Yeah.
levers you have, even better. Like one of my clients is he's in a space that there is like no competition, and it's not because there can't be competition. I just don't think people are looking at this market. And it's not a huge market, so that might be it as well. But the only people he's competing with are like tech platforms that solve
Mhm.
like a small sliver of what he does. And
Yeah.
and so like they have almost all 11 levers are like they're in the top 20th percentile. So like their positioning is crazy strong, for like how are they different, and we get to
Yeah.
market that, and it makes it so much easier to like put a message out. Like he gets on one-to-one calls, figures out okay what do they care about the most for these levers. As soon as he understands that, he just leads the conversation through that piece, and then
Mhm.
and the sale like his close rate has gone up, just because of that. And so
Yeah. Yeah. I think like people don't think about positioning as something that influences things like service design, hiring strategy, and things like that,
mhm,
even though those are the main things. And the example you gave of like, oh, we got the best people. That was that was like the response of, you saw it at a post on LinkedIn, like, what makes you different? And it's like the most common response, like, how is your firm different? Is, oh, it's our people and our process. I'm
mhm,
like, so you're gonna tell me that, and usually my first thing I was like, oh, so who are your top competitors? And they'll usually name like, they'll sometimes they'll say, oh, we don't really have any, but sometimes it's these two. Like,
mhm,
okay, so are you saying that these two firms have really crappy people that they hire? Well, no, 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 no. They've got, they got good people too. So then how is this your differentiator? Right?
right.
Like you can't just say it's our people because
Mhm,
that's table stakes. Of course, you have to have good in what way? How are
right.
these people the best? Because
Mhm,
they came from whatever the big four. Okay,
right.
well, does that actually matter to your clients?
Right. That's the critical piece, right?
Like,
If
what do
they,
you? And this is like you have to match up like market reality, positioning reality
mhm,
versus what your intent is, right?
yep.
Does the market care that you have your hiring strategy is you're only bringing people from the big four? Maybe that's a bad thing because they've
Mhm,
had every single one of them has had, based on who you're targeting, is a bad experience with them. Like they don't want these people.
right. They're looking for someone else. Yeah.
They're looking for someone else. So maybe you don't even
Yep.
want to tout that, right? It's
Yeah.
people just
No,
don't think
100%.
about it, and like the perfect example is like um I remember working with a life sciences firm where we were repositioning them, or not repositioning in quotes because they were already kind of positioned that way. They didn't even really realize it though. Um, but it was a speed to market play.
Mhm,
And the question was, okay, well, how do we further prove this? You're kind of already seen this way. This seems to be the thing that clients are generally the most interested in and that they're keep talking about. What else can you do to further support this and to like make this an even more defensible thing? And it was,
mhm,
well, what's the thing that prevents products from making it to market fast? It's regulatory. Do you have regulators on staff or a contract network or whatever? No. Okay, well, we should probably do that. And that
Right.
became one of the primary levers that we implemented, because without that, it was maybe even a little bit questionable, right? Well, how are you doing it? Right. And then there was a service design thing. Okay. Now that we have these people on staff, how do we then integrate them into your services? Does anything need to change? Do you need to have like a skunk works sort of um, brainstorming session, whatever, first, where these people are involved, where they can, identify regulatory roadblocks before anything else even starts. So you can start thinking through that, whatever. There's a bunch of other examples like
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah,
those are
that's a great
that's
one.
positioning. The messaging comes after the fact.
Right. Well, take customer support is one
Yeah.
similar to like we have the best team. It's like, so first, nobody's going in saying like, I hope this breaks so that I
Yeah.
get to talk to your customer support team. Right. That's
Right.
so it's already not something that would be top of mind. But
Right.
if you take a company like Zappos, right, which is like they sell shoes, but really they're a customer support company that just happens to sell shoes because they give budget to support reps. Like
Yeah.
their strategy is around how do we create the best experience for our
Yeah.
customers. And so because they're willing to put that on the line, right? They're actually
Mhm.
investing budget here.
And
Like
that
it
gets into the
stands out.
economic model that you talked
Right.
about, right? It's pricing,
Yeah.
it's everything, right? Because
They're
they're
risk
yeah,
reversal, outcomes, like all of it. Nike doesn't do that. Adidas doesn't do that. So if you are someone
yeah,
who wants to know that when I order these shoes, if they don't fit, I'm gonna have a great support experience to get the right shoes, like then Zappos is probably for you. And so
yeah. Well, I mean, again, you can. It's very easy. It's much easier to kind of get people to recognize this in consumer brands. But like look at the Warby Parkers of the world, right? It's like
mhm,
same kind of thing. They said, yeah, we'll ship you stuff, but we're gonna price it in a way where you can return whatever you don't want, right? Like that's how we're
mhm,
gonna run the model, etc. Now, obviously, they're different now. They've got stores and whatnot,
yeah,
but it's like what's the proof out there that people see that allows you to claim the thing that you're claiming?
mhm,
Because you can claim whatever the hell you want. We're the fastest. Are you really though?
yeah,
How do I know
mhm,
what's gonna, even if you are, even if that statement is true, how do I know? What do I
right,
see that if I don't know you, what do I see that you're doing that proves to me, yeah, I think they can actually be the fastest. That makes sense to me.
yep, yeah. One of the uh, presentation I showed at my summit last time I ran an exercise where I just said, all right, what if like how was it? Kineticism is the word that we want to own for our brand.
Mhm.
We're going to use that as like we want to be known for being kinetic and stuff like quick movement, right? There's energy in everything. And I just went through like, all right, for our messaging, here's what that would do. For our team structure, here's what that would do.
Yeah.
And like showing people that like these are all the ways that this could show up.
Mhm.
Like one of them, like came up with the idea of like our team could be fluid, where like someone could step into the COO role just on a whim because that's what's needed in order to get this
Mhm.
project across the finish line. Uh, Anything is like could happen with that. Most agencies would not have a structure, anything, right? It's like you have your predefined roles
Yeah.
and all that. But if we truly believe in kineticism, then we're going to be running fast tests. We're going to be moving quick, and so like all of these things would happen. So now, when I'm talking to a client and selling them, hey, we move fast, they're going to say, oh, well, how can you prove it? I'm like, well, in our recent project, we
Mhm.
actually had an account manager step down to become a marketer because that's what we needed on that project in order to hit
Yeah.
all of our deadlines. And like, and we accomplished it. And they have a great website or whatever it is, right? And like, we can
Well, and that
show
gets into
them,
hiring strategy because you need to have people.
yeah,
It's like you're hiring everybody that comes from a particular background that
hmm
has now kind of transitioned into whatever account management or
right,
project management, et cetera. It's got real hiring strategy implications, team structure, obviously, like you talked
hmm
about, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah. No, it touches everything. I think
Yeah.
once people realize that with their positioning, and you start just thinking through, like, hey, I want to be known for this.
Yeah.
Now, how do I prove it? Because like really,
Mhm.
positioning lives in the mind of the buyer, right? Like we can influence it, but the buyer controls it.
Mhm.
And so if I want to influence it in a certain way, how do I do that? Well, to
Mhm.
show them all of the reasons they should believe this. And that's slowly going to like inch me towards
Yeah.
like sitting in that box that I want to be
Yeah.
in their heads.
Yeah. But on the flip side, let's think through all the things we're maybe doing that's counteracting this and stop
Right.
doing those things.
Yeah. Well, and going back to like the speed example, right? If we want to be known as the fastest, if you don't do the things in your business to show that you're the fastest,
Mhm.
if someone does start working with you and you're not, like you do something that takes 2 weeks when they expected one, right? Like you just lost all credibility. They're like,
Mhm.
you are not the fastest by any means.
Well, and it goes to everything. It's like, hey, we're the fastest, but it's going to take me 2 weeks to give you a proposal.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's a, yeah,
Right.
why
And
not
then
end
so
the day?
maybe that one they let go. And then it's, oh, we have to schedule a follow meeting, but my calendar is pretty booked. It's going to be another 2 weeks before we can schedule. I'm
Right.
making this stuff up, but it's like
No, but that's a
it's like
perfect
strike one,
example.
strike two, strike three. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're the fastest actually, because I haven't seen it in the sales process and everything else I've experienced so far.
Yep.
Right. So it's like
Yeah, 100%.
the other thing is, like, I talk to clients about, think of your business development process as a microcosm of, like, that's your demo. Whatever it is that you're saying you're going to own or that you do own from delivery, you need to be able to show and prove during that process.
Yeah.
And there's no neutral. That's the other thing that people
Yes.
struggle with. It's like there is no neutral. It's either supporting it or it's hurting it, because neutral just creates noise.
It's and it's hurting it by means of not advancing it, right?
Exactly.
So it's one of the I try to avoid EST words. I know we're using like fastest really in reference to like speed as our priority here, but for the audience, the anytime you're using an EST word, it puts it on like there's a spectrum now, and so if you say we are the fastest, it means
For the audience,
there is
what's ESD?
so if we're the fastest, we're the it could be best, right, of any sort. The quickest, we're the why am I dropping all of my EST words that people would care about right now? We're the supportiest,
Fastest,
right?
cheapest,
Yeah, cheapest,
smartest,
highest
whatever,
quality, anything like that. If you say we're first, then they can ask who's second, and if you don't know who is second and who's third, right, it means how do you know that you're first? And so like you can't really plant a flag there and hold on to it. And so finding that other word, like, no, we're not the fastest, but we value speed. We're going to show you how we prioritize speed in everything that we do. And like, it's much more defensible when you like frame it that way.
Well, and it's also like, as soon as you claim something that kind of goes against what people think is a normal claim, they're going to question it immediately.
Yeah, I have a great framework for this.
People are like, I think we've all as consumers been taught, unfortunately or fortunately, to be skeptical of all claims that marketers make.
Yep.
We're the best. Are you? I automatically now question whether you're the best. There's a recent client. They're all former bankers, and I was sitting in the conference room with them. We were talking about this topic, and the guy used to like literally be he would do loans. And he's like, anytime a business owner would come in and goes like, oh, you don't have to worry about me. Like, I'm never going to default. He's like, okay, what do I really need to worry about? Now I'm worried about you defaulting. It's like, as soon as you claim the thing that doesn't seem likely, people are going to question it. So it's like, that's where you have to be careful about what you claim versus what you show.
Right. My framework for this is anytime we make a claim, there's 3 options people have for how they can receive it. It's either like, yes, I agree, no, I don't, or bullshit. And we want them to say yes or no, because that at least gives us like a data point of like, if they say yes, it's like, awesome, we align, we're good. If they say no, it's like, maybe this just isn't for them, and that's okay. But if they say like bullshit, it means we made a claim that was so out there that they're like, there's no way you're doing that. And we just lost, not only like, do they not think we could be a fit, but they're just like, these guys are just off the wall, right? I can't trust anything else they say. And so even like I've had clients who we had like some of the stats that they had that we could market were just so like amazing. I'm like, we can't use these. like if we put this on the website, no one will believe it. So we have to find something else to use. And if you get in a conversation with someone, you can then share it one-on-one and say like, we actually don't over promote these because they're so awesome of results, and we don't want people thinking we're just lying. Anyway,
what's there's kind of this mindset shift that needs to happen, right? Where you have to be okay feeling uncomfortable in your own business to a certain extent.
Yep.
Like that's sort of how I, how I think about, that's how I promoted this episode. Even like, if you think about, your positioning is you taking a stand on something.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel a little bit uncomfortable when you take a stand for whatever reason, you're probably not taking a big enough stand, or it's not something anyone's going to care about.
Yeah, no, 100%. And this is it's actually been a struggle for me, because I believe I have a very strong, like, personal belief that
Yeah.
everything in life lives on a spectrum. Like there is very, very rarely a black and white on anything. And so when someone says like, well, this is the way it has to be, I'm always coming in like, well, what if like this variable's different though? I think then it would actually be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And so for my own business, being able to say like, okay, well, where do I want to plant my flag? Because you can't live in the middle and get people excited
Yeah.
to work with you. You still got to pick a side. But that is a huge mindset shift. So like I felt the uncomfortability of having to say, all right, well, this is what I stand for and this is what I'm
Yeah.
willing to do. But I do think the more you think about it and just get the reps in, you start seeing like, well, where am I comfortable doing this? And once you notice the patterns and you get those reps in, like it becomes pretty easy to then know what you stand for.
Yeah. What are some examples from working with clients where they've typically felt really uncomfortable? Like what are the levers maybe, or what are the specific examples of them using the levers where it took, some convincing, if you will, for them to go, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah. So it's actually been kind of all over the place. Like I think it really depends on the person,
Yeah.
for different reasons. The like risk reversal has been one, offer like putting out a guarantee, and the guarantee, like just for the audience, I would never recommend doing a money back guarantee. It just, you're going to attract people who want their money back and stuff. It's better to do something else that lowers the risk, and you're really the risk guy to talk about too here. So like, but like do something else and make that work. But for some of my clients, it was like, okay, well, so are you worried because you feel like you're going to have to live this out? Like you're actually going to have to provide this guarantee?
Yeah.
Because really you only have to provide it a couple times to realize what's wrong with your process. And then it just taught you something super valuable and you can go fix it and now you're good.
Yeah.
Other one, methodology has been one before where it's like people just don't feel like they have something unique to share.
They feel like they don't have it, or they don't want to take the time to build it or synthesize
probably
it.
some of both. It's more like they have this belief that everyone's doing the same thing anyway, and they're just slapping a different label on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, yes, that is happening, but you don't have to do that, right? You can actually have your own belief structure and a different way of doing this. If you are just changing the labels, then like, yeah, it's probably not something even defensible, because anyone can come in and just recreate that process. But if there is like something you truly believe and you're willing to stick to, like, yeah, that's going to help you.
Let's dive into that one actually a little bit, because it's an interesting one. I agree, where I do consistently hear that, especially if you're, anytime I've worked with a more general, like management consulting type firm, where they're a little bit all over the place just by the nature of that type of business, in terms of the clients they service, and especially if they're larger, they usually have different practice areas, things like that. They tend to think in that way. And on the flip side, you get these people that'll, it's kind of like, oh, let me create my trademark acronym. It's FAST, whatever FAST stands for. And it's like, yeah, whatever. Nobody cares. That's not the thing. People don't need another trademarked acronym. It's, again, I kind of connected to what's your point of view, and what are the core principles that support that point of view? What's the insight? What are the core principles? How do you actually think differently? Then you can get into frameworks of, okay, now that you've understood how to think about it, here's how you can kind of apply it to your business, right? Those are the things I think about. It's not let me create a step-by-step process and throw an acronym on it, and even though it's the same damn thing. I remember doing that, by the way, in the first iteration of the agency I was running. I look back on that slide, I'm like, oh God, this is just stupid.
Yeah, good old days. But even 5-10 years ago, like it held way more weight, even
Yeah.
just doing that than it does today.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think so like, man, I'm trying to remember we created one framework for a client, and I'm not going to remember all the steps of this, but it was essentially like we wanted to focus on the experience. They're like a dev shop that worked very specifically with very clear target audience, and it was like refining their website so that like downtime was kind of eliminated. But so they were focused on like the experience of like the audience. This is where I'm not going to remember. It's like the team's experience, and then someone else, the developer experience, and then maybe like the business experience.
Yeah.
But no one else in their space was kind of breaking it out that way, right? Like they were focused on, hey, I'm going to fix your site so you don't lose money. It's like, okay, business experience captured. But like, how is your audience engaging with that site? Like, how do they feel about this? Because that's going to bring you more revenue over time if they're also enjoying it. And your dev experience is like, if the people who are actually working on your site and living there don't have to worry about certain things, like they're not spending as much time, and they can get more pages live, and they can do all these other things. Like, we've now hit the trifecta, and now you're making money while saving money. And so versus what everyone else is doing is just this. And so even though like we threw a name on the process and the framework and stuff, but it was truly different than what other people were doing. Now the risk here is like someone else could just see that and say, oh, we can do that too, and just copy it, right? Like they can read the website, get an understanding, and just replicate that. So it was more important that with that framework, we also had the other piece, like risk reversal, to say, okay, if we can't deliver on these three things, here's what we're going to do for you. And like, so now we're willing to put skin in the game and say like, no, we're betting on this.
Yep.
Which the competitors likely wouldn't have done if they were just copying it.
Well, and the reason why I'm just guessing, but tell me if I'm wrong. The reason why your client was able to do that is because they would have then created the service and delivery structure and the hiring strategy and team structure, et cetera, that allowed them to comfortably go, yeah, we'll guarantee X result because we've made the decisions to be structured in a way where we're probably not going to have to honor that. It wasn't a money back guarantee, right? But whatever that was, like it's not going to hurt us financially 95% of the time, right? And that 5% we'll deal with it, and that happens. Right. Versus, and again, that's where that hard to replicate concept comes in. It's like anybody can give a guarantee. They can slap on it, and they can, hope that they don't need to honor it. But even that's hard. And the reason why that's hard is because they don't have the structure to go, oh my God, well, if I offer this, then I got to make this, and this change. I don't want to do all that. That's a lot of work. There's a lot of risk in making the changes. That means I got to fire some of these people or retrain them or whatever it is. I don't want to do all that.
Right. And so, it's a huge competitive advantage. And like some of these, like even before I kind of outline these levers, when I started, I used what I call the ascension model for my pricing, where one of my first clients, like he was making like $2,000 a month. He had just started his agency.
Yeah.
So I knew he couldn't afford like me at the time. But we started at $500 a month. And for every $10K of net new revenue I would help him achieve, my pay would go up another 500. So now I'm sure our incentives are aligned, right? Like we're working together to do this. And it was like between, I don't know, it was like 7 to 8 months, we were able to get him to $83K a month. And so like my pay went up really well with him. Right. But he was also super successful now, and just kept growing to the point where I'm like, all right, you could hire multiple team members now to replace me. You should probably do that instead. But that model works for bringing people in because it reduces risk, but it shows that you're on the same page and you're willing to put in the extra work in order to make this happen. So a lot of agencies do performance plans, but I think you have to be wary of what the rest of the market is doing as well. Like there's tons of lead gen agencies out there that'll hit you. You won't pay until you get to close a client.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but if everybody says the same thing, like you're really not saying anything there. So
maybe how are you being positioned in the minds of that prospective client if you say the same thing, right? If I all of a sudden start going, oh, you won't pay me a dime until whatever, unless you have leads coming in and then you pay up, it's like, well, so now you sound like a lead gen agency. I don't really like them because they seem shady. Why would I hire you to do my positioning? Now, I would never do that, right? But that's sort of the idea of like, what are you, by making these statements and making these claims, inevitably you're going to get compared.
Right. No, that's 100% it.
Yeah.
It all lives in the mind of the buyer.
Yeah. That's let's maybe dig into that one a little bit more too, because, this idea of, um, you talk about risk reversal, and then let's combine that with the pricing strategy. Cause I think of pricing as anything that kind of touches either the cost or the value side of that equation. So there's sort of two sides to it, right? There's the, how do I ensure this is, good for both parties kind of thing, but then also how do I ensure this actually supports the positioning that I'm taking? Right. So it's, again, using our speed example. What does your pricing strategy look like, and what does your risk reversal look like that supports that? It's not just a random guarantee and a random pricing tier, whatever. Let's say, you wouldn't just do, money back guarantee if we don't hit, I don't know, X amount of revenue, or pricing tiers based on revenue volume, right? Those don't support speed.
Right.
You would do maybe pricing tiers on, well, we can get you this result in 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months. How fast do you want to go?
Yep.
How fast can you go based on your capacity, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I call that velocity pricing. And I actually recommend a lot of agencies move towards something like that, even if speed isn't their thing. But what's interesting about this example is like, it also, like, there are choices you can make, and like, so say speed is your priority. You could say, well, we want to do only monthly, like month-to-month contracts, because then you just have to think about this month. So it makes it quicker for you to be able to to purchase for this month, and we can just keep moving. Or I could say, we only do quarterly contracts, because when we get towards the end of this month, we don't want to be thinking about next month. We just want to keep going and like knocking out those next tasks. So if we do this quarterly, like, we can just keep moving.
Yeah.
And so like, you could argue either way. So it just depends, like, how do you want to be seen? How is your buyer going to consider both of those? And like, does a story kind of match what they want?
Yeah. Like, and then another example is, and this is something I personally did. If one of the things that you want to be known for, and the thing that clients appreciate, let's just say, is really honest advisory in terms of like, hey, you might not want to hear this, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway, even if it means it's going to hurt my business in the long run, kind of thing. I'm going to tell it to you anyway. What I did was I shifted to full prepayment, because I don't want to be incentive. Like, I don't want to be protecting this month's retainer or this project. Like, I don't want that to be even a remote block in my mind. Like, oh, well, shit, I can't say this because what if they decide to cancel? No,
right.
You've paid me for the work. I'm going to tell you everything, whether you like it or not. If that means that I don't get the next project, I guess so be it. But this one is protected on my side. I'm not worried about it, which means you're getting my kind of unadulterated like stuff.
Right.
Because that was a core. That was how I was, like, every single client, like, oh yeah, Mike doesn't mince words. He'll tell you whether you want to hear it. That was a consistent piece of feedback. Like, oh, okay, clearly that's important. All right, what do I do to support that? And then obviously this was a while ago, but I ran into those issues. I'm like, damn it, I really should have told them this. And now I'm actually now getting fired for not saying that, even though had I done it this other way, I probably would have said it.
Right. But yeah, that's a great example. Because like, for the people who care about getting that feedback, when you tell them, hey, this is why I'm structured like this way, like, they're all about it. You just won them over even more. So like, that's exactly what I need to hear right now. I mean, for my own business, I really try to be accessible and create independence for my clients. Like, those are two of the words that are expressions of how I want to be seen. And so my pricing can never be that high. Like, cause I'm working with
Yeah.
like sub-$1 million agencies. So like, I want to be accessible to give them, I mean, I don't know if this is the humblest thing to say, but like, I want to give them good coaching for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so I need to keep my price points low. And so like the accessibility of having that Ascension model when I was just starting, like that worked. That was super accessible for the client, helped me. But then on the independents, it's like, I'm trying to move agencies away from referral reliance, right? I don't want you to have to be dependent on referrals all the time. If you start working with me and you're just dependent on me now, all I did was replace one dependency with another,
Yeah.
right? We moved from heroin to cocaine. And so, assuming I'm
Which one are you in
the
that
equivalent
analogy?
of cocaine? Yeah, I guess I don't know. But so with that, it's like I need to be actually like coaching them to learn this stuff, not just to stay like on a drip. And which means my initial curriculum is 90 days. Like, and after we're done at night, you are paying for 90 days of work, and that is it. And we have other things we can do after,
Yeah.
but like at 90 days, you should be self-sustaining. Like that is the goal. Which then for me, like consequentially means I need to be on my marketing, right? Like I need to be able to, every 90 days, I'm losing a client potentially. And so I need to be able to market well enough to be able to find another client right there. And that's hard. Whereas a lot of agency coaches I know have clients for years. And like I have had some clients for well over a year now. But like that's like, the business model had to shift in order to ensure I could live up to that positioning.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I think that gets back to this idea of like, if you don't feel at least a little bit uncomfortable in your own skin, if you will, in your own business, you're not taking a hard enough stand that's going to matter to the market.
Yep.
And that's not easy to copy, because if it's very comfortable for you, that probably means it's going to be very easy for anybody else to do as well. Because I can do the same thing,
right?
I can make those same changes. Like what's another? We talked about what you call risk reversal. We talked about revenue model. We talked about methodology. What's another one that you think tends to trip people up?
So the operational constraints, I think, is one that gets untouched a lot. And it is hit or miss. Like your audience has to care about this, right, in order for it to work. But I think a lot of agencies specifically someone will come in, they're like, yeah, we got to do this project. Awesome. We're really good at that. And then they say, can you also do this? And the agency will almost always say, yeah, we can do that. And then they go back to their team like, hey guys, can we do this? And they figure it out somehow. I think the equivalent to that is like going into your garage and being like, hey, I need a brake, like change my oil. Can you also change my brake lines? And you see like the mechanic Googling in the back how to change brake lines. And it's like, okay, well, maybe this is, a little unethical at this point.
Yeah.
But because we're doing knowledge work, nobody thinks about it that way. But it kind of is, right? Like you're saying, yes, we can do this. We can get you this result. And maybe you can figure it out, but you should be upfront about that. But so why I like operational constraints as a lever is because we can say, we don't do that. Like when the agency I was running in a past life, it's like we did websites and we did like growth marketing, like just marketing tests on your website to bring in traffic so we could see what we needed to fix on the website and tweak, optimize, all that. We did not do social media. We also did not do ads. So if a client really needed ads, we would find someone else to come in and run those ads, client tracking that. Social media, we would tell them, we don't do this because we believe your marketing should be a conversation between you and the client. And so we don't want to be the in between here. We want you talking to them. So we might help you with some of the content, but you're the one running your LinkedIn account or whatever platform. And for some people, like that's what they needed to hear to know, like, okay, well then our organic content, our website, all of that is going to be on point because that's what they focus on. And so if you say we're an ad agency and we only focus on Amazon, right? We are only doing Amazon ads. It's like, that is very different than saying, yeah, we're a full funnel ads agency. Like we can do TikTok, we can do Google, we can do all this. And yes, we only have a team of 3, but like, no, we're experts in everything. And it's like, that's not how that works. Right. So being able to say, this is what we don't do is actually like a very strong lever in attracting people who want what you do.
Well, there's an interesting sort of um, scaling lever in that as well, in terms of you're not saying no forever necessarily.
Right.
To some of the things it might be forever, but you won't always know what those are.
Mhm.
Meaning, at some point, like let's say, let's take an agency example here, because I've been talking a lot about my stuff. Like, let's say that again, let's say speed was our main thing, right?
Mhm.
So we're known for speed, and let's say maybe more specifically, we're known for speed to market as a whatever it is that you do in your agency. I don't care, demand gen, whatever it is, and you specialize in maybe a couple of industries that have some sort of overlap in terms of what their core problems are. So maybe it's like manufacturing and construction, or something like
Mhm.
commercial construction. And then you specialize in, again, let's say it's the various aspects of demand gen, right? So it's paid media, it's SEO, whatever. Let's just say that's the thing. At some point, if a bunch of your clients are asking, hey, we really need, analytics and CRM help as well, like more RevOps, let's just say.
Mhm.
Like initially, you're probably saying, no, 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 we don't do it. But if enough people are asking, and there's a way for you to justify, well, how does this impact speed? Well, if their data is clean and we can identify the triggers at the right time, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Does that accelerate things potentially? Yes, it does. Okay. Let's learn it. Let's make sure we're open about it. Let's bring in the right people. It's this, kind of going through all the stuff. Like, do we need to change anything about our team structure? Does anything change about our pricing? All this kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden you can start offering that. Right.
Right.
But there's this interesting kind of, it's both a constraint, but also at some point it becomes an opportunity where you go, well, yeah, we can layer this in.
Right.
What's that like? How do you think about that? What are the how do you maybe help clients decide, like, yep, it's the right time to think through what this
Yeah.
means for you?
So framework I like using for that is the more, better, new. And so first, I do like it has to fit your positioning to even want to consider this, right? But the
Mhm.
first thing we're going to do is like when we're looking at what we're already doing, it's like, can we just do more of this? Like, this is what we want to be doing. Like, the more we can do of this, the more data we have to see then what we can do better. And so, even like my first hire is going to be someone to help me do more, so that we have that data source.
Yeah.
Then next hire will be someone for better, and or it's just like even within our current process, right? Like, how do I now do this at a higher level? How do we optimize? Once we've like maxed that out and we're really good at this, then it's okay. Now, what could we do that's new that we can pull into this? Otherwise, if we're just adding stuff that's new before we fully optimize everything else, it's like we're kind of wasting time. But then once we've hit that new, it's just restarting. All right, now let's just do more of this. Let's do it better. And then let's find something new. And through that, you're growing your revenue at the same time, right? So it's not your team of three that's trying to keep adding new things. It's like you're hiring specialists to solve for those new opportunities. And so when the client comes in and says like, "Oh, so you guys are offering this now?" It's like, "Yeah, we actually just hired multiple individuals to just work on this within the company."
Mhm.
And stuff like that goes a long way.
And here's how this supports you be fast. This is how it
Right.
helps you be
Yeah. Here's
faster,
how it all
if that's
fits.
the thing. Right.
Mhm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
I think that's
oh, sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so I have an article coming out next Monday. I think it's next Monday. Yeah, next first Monday of the month, whenever that is. The
Next Monday.
on a what I call the so that gap. And so it's kind of like the 7 whys exercise, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, well, why do we do this? Why do we? But just reframing it like we do this so that we can X. And then once you hit that, it's like so that we can this, and then so that, and you just keep going down until you get to like the root. And once you get to that level, you start realizing like, oh, this is what I need to be doing within my business in order to make sure clients understand this and prospects really understand
Yep.
this is my positioning and where I want to be.
Yeah. Well, and that's,
Yeah.
again, this is where the nuance is interesting that, most people kind of maybe tune out on, or don't want to think about, because nuance isn't the most exciting thing, but that's where the money gets made, right?
Mhm.
Um, the flip side of this is, well, okay, so you're Mike and Chris, sounds like you're just telling me I just got to I got to chase the dollar. If clients are asking for it, I got to, at some point, it makes sense for me to do it. And it's like, well, not exactly. Right. Because there's an opportunity cost to everything, So like, I think like there's, hold on, I'm trying to find something in my notes here that I was going to bring up, like the very simplified, like decision tree, in terms of like, okay, I'm thinking of doing this thing, whatever that thing is, changing my pricing, laying in a new service, going after a new segment, whatever. Does this support my positioning? Yes or no? It's binary. No. Okay. Is it going to break your positioning if you do it? Yes. Why are you even thinking about it? Like, again, it's like there's no neutral. It's either a yes or no, right? No. Is it going to make you money?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is it going to make you more money than something else that supports your positioning? No. Why are you doing it? Again, that's that opportunity cost that I think people don't think about. It's like, well, yeah, you could, again, in consulting firms, it's often, we're going to bring in another partner or add somebody to the partner track that's going to build out this practice area. Well, sure, you can do that. You can give up, some percentage points of equity. So again, there's an opportunity cost as the founder as well there that you got to think about. And there's the actual salary costs, and then probably maybe a specialized tool stack and all sorts of other things. Like, now you got to go to these conferences, and now you got to do this stuff in marketing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to sort of build this up. What if you took that same investment and put it into the same thing you're already doing, but doing it more, like you said, right? Could you do that? And maybe the answer is no. It's like, no, this is tapped. Like, there's literally whatever. Let's say you're a CPA and you're only in the in the local area. Nope, I've got 99% of this market. Everybody that files taxes does them with me. Okay, I guess you got to look for something else. That makes sense,
right?
But if that's not you, and that's obviously an extreme example, I don't even know if that's even possible. So like,
no, it makes sense. And at some point, that opportunity cost becomes a sunk cost where you're just like, well, we're just going to stick with this. And it's like, yeah, but is it still the best choice for your business? When I'm in the morning, so I drop my oldest daughter off at school, got to drive back, and I use that for some of my thinking time for whatever like the question of the week is or whatever. And one that I've been thinking about over this, like, well, really today and yesterday, was basically this concept of like, don't chase the reward. Where I was listening, there's a podcast that just placed in the top 10 on Spotify, and everyone's like congratulating him, and he's like wanting to continue improving that metric. But the things that like, if he chases that reward of like just being the best, he might be optimizing for the wrong thing. Right. Versus doing more of what he's doing now that already got him into that list. Like, that's what people want to see.
Well, that's the concept of audience capture, right? Like, a lot of people are talking about that in the media space. Like, that's what happens. That's how they end up where they are, because they go, oh, well, for me to be whatever better number 1 instead of number 10, I need to pander to this audience. And all of a sudden you're like, who the hell am I?
Right. Doing something else. But yeah, with the businesses that we coach, it's the same. When you start chasing that dollar, like, people might be quicker to give money up here, but is that what you actually want to be doing and like known for? And does that lead to all of the opportunities you really want to be seeking? And so if you start chasing that, you're game over.
Yeah. Well, and in general, just like, there's a habit, I think, of, especially early on, to chase the dollar. Right. And that I remember maybe a couple months ago, I was talking to a founder of I guess you can call them an assessment company. I don't remember all the details because they're not a client, but I was speaking with her, and I'm like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more. She told me about the business. It's like they developed this proprietary assessment for, I think it was something with mental health. I forget, for mental health for founders. I forget now. So don't quote me on that. But I was like, cool. Who's your ideal client? She said, well, it's really, we can do this for anybody. And that's always my first flag. I'm like, what do you mean? You could do this for
Mhm.
anybody. I was like, well, we've got, we license it to coaches, and we do we do group things, and we do individual coaching. We do this, that, and the other. And it's like financially, the business was healthy. I think she was making like $5 million or something at very healthy profit margins. But I'm like, okay, how are you going to scale this? Like, because literally every decision to go this way or that way or this way is an opportunity cost and the other things. At some point, you got to make a call. You might not need to get, let's say there's 5. You don't need to get rid of 4, but maybe you need to get rid of 2.
Right. Yeah. See where that takes you and then go again.
And again, which 2 is it? Well, what are you known for? Right? Maybe 2 of them don't support that thing. They just happen to make you money.
Right.
And that's kind of that idea. Well, yeah, they make you money, but is it the same amount as these other 3 things?
Mhm.
And are these other 3 things more rewarding for you, more interesting for you, more interesting for your people, better recognized by the market, more needed, whatever it is, right? Now that you better start understanding that opportunity cost. It's like, okay, well, instead of going after more of these people, let's spend that same effort going after more of these people and then replace these people
Mhm.
and then keep scaling. And that's that painful thing that people need to go through. Sometimes you just got to say no to some revenue, which is really hard for people to do.
Yep. No, so especially if you're cash strapped, right? Then it's very hard. It's also hard for, like, once you hit a certain financial like milestone, to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to take a step back in order to get this right. Where I was actually surprised with one of my clients, basically said, hey, we're hiring another sales rep this year. We know we're going to have to ramp them up. And so we're actually taking a step back in our growth plan to be able to do this right and make sure that with our new ICP, we're doing all the right steps now so this takes off. And their years kicked off well. But it was just like, I have not heard like a company actually make that claim on their own without like coach being like, hey guys, maybe, So
yeah. Or again, the hardest thing I find for clients to do is that purposeful client roster curation of, you know what, we're going to let some of these go. They're not bad clients. They're nice people. Like if they're bad people, that's a whole different story. That's generally easier, especially if you don't have a financial problem. But it's like, hey, we got healthy margins, but instead of keeping these, we're going to bring on new ones and we're going to let these people go in the right way, etc. Like that's the part that people struggle with a lot because they go, why would I say no to whatever $250,000 in revenue? That's my clients. That's like that kind of price point.
No, I had one of my, this was like when I feel like I hit a tipping point in my business, when I got a client in and, or a prospect in, and calls went great and stuff. And then they followed up with like, hey, can you just convince me that I need to niche? And like, that's kind of part of my curriculum. Like, I really do believe that like you need to have focus on your audience because it also helps your like supply side, right? It's not just demand. Like if you have a very targeted audience, it means you get more reps with the same type of people solving the same problem. So everything gets better in your business. But I basically told them like, hey, no, that's not my job. Like if you're not ready, if you don't think that's the problem or that you want to have solved or like, if you're not bought into this already, like I'm not the fit for you. And he ended up convincing himself that it was like he went back to his team, talked to them, said this is what we need to do, and now he's a client. And so, so that felt pretty good. But it was just like, one of those like I might be turning away revenue that I could at the time I could have used that revenue, but it was also like this goes against kind of how I want to be seen. Like, and so,
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that would be worthwhile mentioning before we wrap up?
Man, I think we can do this quickly, but like problem ownership is one of the easiest things for you to kind of map out for your business. But it's one that I think a lot of people neglect. They focus on whatever service they offer and they become interchangeable with everybody else.
Capability led,
right. Like people want to have a problem solved. And so the way, like quick framework for solving this is I say start with your vertical, right? So we know what industry do we want. If you can get a sub vertical within that, even better, because then we're getting more specific. Within that, then find the horizontal, which is like a job function. And so it could be the CEO, CFO, CMO, right? Head of marketing, like some job function. Because one, that horizontal is great. So it goes across multiple industries.
Mhm.
So even if you decide, hey, this industry is failing now, you have enough connections with certain people that you can probably translate some of that to another industry. So give you a
Yeah.
little redundancy. But where those intersect, like if you hone in right there, there's a problem set. Like these people in this industry have these problems. And you just pull those up, look at them and say, what could I solve? Like, what am I the best fit to solve amongst these problems? And once you find that, like now it's like, hey, we know this is an actual problem. We know we can solve it. And so you've now knocked out your market focus. You know exactly who you're targeting. You've nailed down your problem ownership. And the reason you can solve that problem is probably because you have a point of view tied back to that problem that you can lead with as well. And so you kind of knock out a lot of the different like differentiation levers by just nailing down what is this problem that I want to solve.
Yeah, because then once you've done that, you kind of work backwards through what needs to be true for me to own this problem.
Right.
I think that one thing I would add to that is where I feel like people tend to get confused. Problem does not equal capability, or problem does not equal service either.
Right.
Because you could, just thinking of a current client, just for first thing that pops into mind, like it's for them, the problem is how do we help banks? There's specific kind of banks, so I'm not going to get into too many details, but how do we help them innovate faster and more? That's the problem. It's an innovation problem. That's what we help solve. That means 15 different things, probably more even, that they could do for that client from a service perspective, right? And it allows them to, it supports the model that they built, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the kind of thing we're talking about, right? It's not no, it could be, right? Which is also interesting. Like this is the nuance. It could be something very, very specific, like, oh, well, we, help streamline CRM data for, e-commerce. That's a very specific problem. That's maybe it's even with a specific tech stack, whatever. Like that's fine. That works too.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, even when I won't spend time figuring out what specific problem for this piece, but like to assume it's just like a general marketing problem that we want to nail down, like lead gen for specific stage type company or something. It's like I could solve this with ads. I could solve it with inbound content. I could solve, like there's so many different ways I could do this. But like whatever stance I want to take on this is then becomes part of the delivery model. And I could include now some of the other things, right? Like I could say, hey, we're actually going to open up with ads, but then we're going to shift you into like more organic content as soon as that takes off. So we don't need to spend as much money to get the same result and stuff. But I can have a model for how I deliver on this problem, and someone else could have a completely different model. So now you get the confidence if a prospect comes to you and says, I don't really want to do it that way. I kind of really need this or want this. You say, well, actually, I know exactly who you should talk to. And now you can actually send people to your competitors, not worry, like you didn't lose anything. They weren't going to work with you. But I mean, the big challenge there is like most of your competitors right now are probably not doing the same thing. Like they're accepting any business that'll come their way and doing the unethical, like, we can solve for that. But it is crazy when you do nail down your positioning, how much you can just pass off the work that's just not a fit for various reasons. Like my community has, I don't know, probably like 20 something positioning coaches or like that people that touch positioning in some way. And so like when the right person comes in and they're not fit for me, it's like, hey, I know exactly who you should talk to. And you can just pass them off. And I don't have to feel like, I don't know, bad about myself. Like, oh, I lost that deal. It's like, no, they just weren't a fit. And so I'm going to set them up with a person who is.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Last thing, because we're a little over time. Which is one thing I found is kind of this. I feel like the niching advice has gotten maybe a little too extreme in some instances, where it's like it's become so productized, where these people are like, oh yeah, we can solve. And this kind of gets back to the problem. Like, what problem do you really want? Like, oh yeah, we can solve pretty much any problem with this specific method. I'm like, that doesn't work that way.
No.
It's like, oh well, I'm an offer coach, and my offers are always, it's this type of strategy for offers. And it's like, yeah, but you're ignoring the positioning components. You can't
Right.
do that,
Yes.
so it's like, there
Preach.
has to be, I don't even know if I have an answer to this necessarily, but
No,
it's
I mean,
like, there has to be
it.
broad, like you have to have broad enough knowledge of the overarching
Mhm.
landscape and problem to know, hey, I can really help here. And then, like you said, you probably don't need this yet. You
Right.
actually need this other thing.
Yeah, and that's if you're going to, so I view these problems as like we can productize, standardize, or customize.
Yeah.
And if you're productized, they have to fit a very specific mold in order for you to be able to solve for that. And then standardized, like I have my general process, but like I might do more here for you because you need it versus these people who are like, yeah, we're going to do less and we're going to do more of this. Then customized is like fully, I'm just going to do whatever is necessary in order to make this happen. All of them can work for a business model. It's just you have to take in like account, or, the variables that you should be tracking for each.
Yep.
So,
Well, like we've talked about before, tying it all together, like it's got to support your positioning, and
right.
then everything else needs to flow from there in terms of team structure, hiring strategy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Everything else that we've just talked about.
That's where it all comes back to positioning.
All right.
Cool.
Awesome, Chris. This was
Look at
fun.
us wrapping it
Hopefully the rest of you that were listening enjoyed it and got something valuable out of it. Chris, I know you have a community. You want to tell people about that, and then anywhere else,
Yeah.
anything else you want to throw out there for folks to connect with you?
Yeah, sure. The dynamic agency community is there for any agency owners want to hang out. We got a free option now, so you can hang out. You don't get all the channels and all the fun little perks. It's only $97 a year for anyone who does want those. But just come hang out, ask questions, like leaning back into my like accessibility and independence like positioning. I want you to be able to ask questions and I will get you an answer, whether it's pulling someone else in, a peer, another advisor. Like you shouldn't be stuck. Like you should be able to have some sort of independence in your business. And that's what this community hopefully solves for. So yeah, love to see you guys.
It's a great community. I'm a part of it, at least recently. So
awesome. Right. Well, cool, man.
Thanks, Chris,
for having me.
Yeah, this is fun. All right, everybody. I'll be back. I'm trying to remember. I think next week I'm back with something. I forget who now. Got to look at my own schedule. All right. See ya.
See ya.